Welcome in. Today, we are looking at a really fascinating slice of the Texas real estate market.
Yeah, we have a fantastic stack of sources for you today,
We really do. We're using them to look at a specific boutique agency. It's called Terra Point Realty.
based right in the heart of Fulshear, Texas.
Exactly. And we're using Terra Point as a sort of case study to see how local brokerages are, well, surviving,
Thriving, honestly.
right? Thriving. Even in this age of mega corporate digital real estate, we're examining their digital footprint, their active property listings, and their content strategy to really understand the modern real estate ecosystem.
Because the sources we gathered, they offer a really compelling microcosm for you. When you look at TerraPoint's website, right alongside their active portfolio and their blog output, you aren't just looking at a local business brochure.
No, not at all.
You're looking at a highly optimized engine, one that's designed to bridge the gap between algorithmic, aggressive digital marketing and old school local community relationships.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, real estate is one of the few global industries left that remains fundamentally tethered to a physical geographic reality. You cannot digitize the physical neighborhood you are moving your family into.
Which is the overarching mission for this deep dive.
Oh,
By the time we wrap up, the goal is for you to clearly understand how this specific blend of hyper-local expertise, a surprisingly wide-ranging property portfolio, and a marketing paradox.
which is my favorite part.
Yeah, the paradox of aggressive digital tactics paired with highly personal touchpoints. How all of that creates a sustainable economic moat. We are bypassing all the standard real estate fluff to look at the actual business model driving TerraPoint.
It's a model worth analyzing because it directly counters the narrative that we always hear, that massive, faceless national brokerages are going to inevitably swallow every local market whole.
Right.
The data actually shows us a very different survival strategy playing out on the ground in Texas.
Okay, let's unpack this by starting with the leadership and the core brand identity driving TerraPoint Realty.
The foundation of it all.
Yeah, so the broker and founder is Stacy Burgeon, and her profile establishes some very deliberate positioning right out of the gate. She was born and raised in Houston, Texas.
Local roots.
Deep local roots. She brings over a decade of direct experience in the Texas real estate market.
Yeah.
And her stated focus is highly specialized. We're talking high-end luxury homes, new construction, and custom home builds, specifically in the Fulshear Katy area.
But there's another layer there.
There is. She makes a very prominent point of advertising the firm as a locally women-owned and operated boutique service.
What's fascinating here is the underlying psychology and the economic advantage of that specific branding. When you look at a buyer or a seller operating in the luxury custom build space, trust is the ultimate currency.
Absolutely.
By positioning themselves as a 5-star rated high-touch boutique service, TerraPoint is creating a deliberate stark contrast to the current industry landscape. Because we are living in an era of massive, publicly traded mega brokerages.
You know the ones.
Right. Those entities boast thousands of agents, massive corporate hierarchies, and often,
A revolving door of customer service reps.
exactly, a revolving door.
You're interacting with a corporate satellite office where you might be passed off to a junior associate the literal minute the contract is signed.
Which is terrifying when you're spending $1 million.
Totally. TerraPoint is clearly leveraging their deep local roots in Fort Bend County to signal agility and accountability. Stacy Burgeon's profile pairs her sharp negotiation skills directly with thoughtful client care.
You need both.
You do. You need the tactical negotiator to navigate the complexities of a custom build, but you also need the local resident who actually understands the school zoning, the development trajectory of Fulshear, and just the community dynamics.
The competitive moat here is localized accountability. Think about it. When a mega brokerage fumbles a transaction, it's just a rounding error on a quarterly earnings report.
Nobody notices.
But when a boutique, locally owned firm fumbles a $1 million listing, it directly damages their reputation in the community they actually live in.
At the grocery store? At the school drop-off?
Exactly. Buyers and sellers at this price point intuitively understand that dynamic. The consistent 5-star reviews they highlight aren't just vanity metrics. They are proof of concept that the high-touch, highly accountable boutique model actually works.
And they are applying this model across a very specific, economically diverse footprint. They explicitly outline their service areas. They list Fulshear, Brookshire, Richmond, Katy, Sugar Land, and the greater Houston area.
That's a massive footprint.
It's not just a list of cities. That is a sprawling economic zone with incredibly varied housing demands. which actually shifts us away from the branding and right into the hard data.
My favorite part.
Because you can claim to be a local expert all day long, but your active inventory proves whether you actually have market penetration.
The portfolio is the ultimate lie detector in real estate.
It is.
Let's look at what they're actually moving.
Yeah.
Because their active listings show a fascinating split that reveals a lot about their long-term growth strategy.
Here's where it gets really interesting. When you look at their featured active listings, it is a complete tale of two markets. The contrast is incredibly stark.
Night and day.
On one end of the spectrum, they're currently listing a home on Zacate Creek Lane. It's an entry-level property priced at $335,000.
Very accessible.
It's a two-bedroom, two-bathroom home. But on that exact same featured page, you have a massive luxury estate on Jade Springs Lane.
Massive.
We are talking 5 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, listed at $1,085,000.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this diverse portfolio reveals a highly sophisticated barbell strategy for you to consider. Terra Point isn't just catering to the 1%.
Even though Stacy's stated specialization is high-end luxury.
Right. Despite that specialization. By heavily servicing both the entry-level market and the multi-million-dollar market simultaneously, they are optimizing for customer lifetime value, or CLTV.
Let's dig into that for a second, because I want to challenge the assumption that selling $330,000 starter homes is actually a good use of time for a broker who specializes in custom estates.
It seems counterintuitive.
Doesn't that dilute the brand? Why not just hunt whales all day?
It's a fair question, but hunting whales in real estate is incredibly expensive. The customer acquisition cost...
A shack?
Yeah, the marketing spend required to pull a brand new luxury buyer out of thin air is astronomically high. Mega brokerages spend millions trying to capture those specific leads. Terra Point is playing a much longer, more efficient game here.
I see.
They capture the buyer at the ground floor with that $335,000 Zacate Creek Lane property.
Okay.
By executing that transaction with the exact same 5-star, high-touch boutique service they apply to their luxury clients, they effectively lock in that relationship.
So they are building a proprietary pipeline. 5 or 7 years later, when that buyer needs to upgrade, the acquisition cost for Terra Point to get their next listing is essentially zero.
Precisely. The buyer already trusts them. They return to sell the starter home and step up to the middle of the barbell. And we see that middle ground actively represented in their portfolio right now, too.
We do.
They have a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom on Bramble Hollow Court for $414,500.
Right.
They have a 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom on Beacon Cove Trail for $558,000. Terra Point is servicing the entire life cycle of the buyer.
From the starter home to the move-up home.
And eventually, that same exact client might be ready to build that dream luxury estate in Fulshear Lakes, Cross Creek Ranch, or Weston Lakes. Those are the highly desirable neighborhoods Terra Point actively spotlights.
But managing a barbell portfolio like that requires intense operational adaptability. The financing hurdles, the buyer psychology, the marketing channels for an FHA finance starter home.
They're completely different.
Worlds apart from the cash-heavy, highly scrutinized negotiations of a $1 million custom build. It lends a lot of credibility to their claim of being true local experts. You really cannot fake your way through that level of market variance.
Well, you have to know the microeconomics of every single neighborhood.
Right.
And this adaptability directly informs how they structure their client acquisition, which is arguably the most complex part of their digital footprint.
And that leads us to a fascinating juxtaposition in their messaging, which I really want to call their marketing paradox. When you parse the copy on their website, they explicitly boast about utilizing aggressive, results-driven marketing strategies. They promise professional photography, targeted digital ads, extensive social media campaigns, and maximal market exposure.
To get a home sold fast and for top dollar.
Right. But aggressive is a highly charged word to use in boutique real estate copy.
It implies a shark-like mentality, a volume-driven, cutthroat approach.
Wait, doesn't that create a bit of brand whiplash for you as a potential client? You're promising sellers this aggressive, high-octane digital marketing blitz on one page. But the ultimate call to action.
The primary conversion metric.
Yeah, the main thing they push across the entire site is incredibly soft. The language literally says, schedule a coffee date.
Over and over.
Don't miss out on the opportunity to live in your dream house. Schedule a coffee date today. How does a boutique agency prevent those two identities from just clashing and confusing the market?
It looks like a clash on the surface, but it's actually a highly calibrated response to the dual anxieties of modern real estate. The aggressive digital marketing satisfies the seller's anxiety.
Because they want eyeballs on their property.
Exactly. If you're listing a home, you demand proof that your asset will not languish in obscurity. In an era dictated by AI, smart searches, and algorithmic property feeds, if your home doesn't look spectacular and isn't pushed aggressively online, it practically doesn't exist.
That's very true.
Terra Point has to promise and deliver that aggressive digital footprint to win the listing.
The seller needs to know the agency has teeth,
Yes.
but the buyer or the seller looking for representation for their next move has a totally different anxiety. They're terrified of making a catastrophic financial mistake.
Which is where the coffee date comes in. You cannot secure the human trust required for massive, life-altering financial decisions via a targeted Instagram ad.
No, you definitely can't.
Real estate deals collapse all the time due to cold feet, financing hiccups, or inspection anxiety. You salvage those deals by having a foundation of trust. The coffee date, the complimentary consultations, that's how they establish the emotional bedrock needed to navigate the inevitable stress of a transaction.
So the aggressive marketing gets the house seen.
And the coffee date gets the deal closed.
What I find so clever is how they engineer the user journey on their website to seamlessly bridge the gap between that digital aggression and the in-person coffee date. They don't just expect you to jump from reading a web page to calling a total stranger for coffee.
Right. They offer a suite of low-friction digital tools to capture your intent first.
The lead generation mechanisms are heavily integrated.
Extremely.
They feature a new buyer guide PDF. They have a sophisticated home valuation widget where you can plug in your address and immediately get a market estimate.
Which everyone loves to do.
Well, everyone wants to know what their house is worth. They also host a mortgage calculator, offer market report downloads, and provide a comprehensive seller guide PDF.
Those tools are brilliant because they function as a digital handshake. You interact with the brand, you extract immediate tangible value from their mortgage calculator or their automated valuation model, and you enter their ecosystem without feeling like you are being sold to.
It's totally passive.
Right. Once you've used their resources to calculate your potential equity, scheduling a coffee date no longer feels like walking into a high-pressure sales pitch. It feels like consulting an advisor you already have a micro-relationship with.
They use the technology to systematically remove the friction of the initial contact.
It's utilizing tech to facilitate human connection rather than trying to replace it.
They are automating the math, but personalizing the strategy. Which brings us to the final and perhaps most revealing piece of their digital footprint, their content machine.
The blog.
They maintain a very active blog, which serves as a critical tool for community engagement and market positioning.
Because a blog in 2026 can so easily become a digital graveyard of generic AI-generated real estate fluff if it isn't managed with strict hyper-local intent.
But Terra Point is pushing real-time relevance. To bring you right into the present moment, today is March 10th, 2026. And Terra Point just dropped a brand new post today titled, March Home Maintenance Checklist for Fulshear Homeowners.
Right on time.
They are actively outlining seasonal upkeep, reminding the community to tackle specific spring preparations to prevent costly future repairs.
The recency of that content is a strong signal of active market participation.
And it gets much more specific than just seasonal checklists. A few weeks ago, on February 17th, they published a surprisingly quirky piece focused on pricing strategies. It literally opened with a Valentine's poem.
I saw that.
It read, "Roses are red, violets are blue, Fulshear real estate market. Looking for real estate help? I'm here to assist you."
It's charming.
It is lighthearted, but it immediately pivots into a highly technical breakdown of how localized guidance for pricing, targeted marketing, and sharp negotiations makes a definitive financial difference in a shifting market.
They're using seasonal novelty to lower the reader's defenses before delivering a dense educational lesson on market dynamics.
And then on February 24th, they posted a success story about a property they just leased in Spring Branch, Houston. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath rental on a corner lot that they managed to lease rapidly due to strategic positioning and a highly competitive market.
This raises an important question regarding resource allocation. Why would a boutique broker whose primary profile explicitly states she specializes in high-end luxury homes and custom new builds, dedicate her agency's limited time and digital real estate to publishing DIY spring maintenance checklists.
And celebrating the lease of a 3-bedroom rental in Spring Branch.
Exactly.
It does seem entirely disconnected from the $1 million Jade Springs estate we talked about earlier. A 3-bedroom lease in Spring Branch doesn't exactly scream high-end luxury custom build. Why spend the bandwidth?
Because it cements their position as a full-service, holistic real estate advisor rather than just a transactional salesperson. By publicizing the rental lease in Spring Branch, they're quietly demonstrating that they handle investments and property management across the greater Houston area.
Oh, that makes total sense.
Right, that appeals directly to the high net worth clients buying those luxury builds, who often hold diverse real estate portfolios that require management. But more importantly, content like the March maintenance checklist addresses the concept of churn.
Because churn in real estate is a massive problem. Most people only transact once every 7 to 10 years.
Exactly. If Terra Point only engaged with their audience when they were actively pushing a listing or seeking a buyer, they would suffer massive audience decay.
Out of sight, out of mind.
By providing a monthly maintenance checklist, they are injecting themselves into the daily, ongoing reality of homeownership. They are providing non-transactional value. They're positioning themselves as ongoing stewards of the community's property values.
It's a retention play.
100%.
When you decide to sell your home 5 years from now, you aren't going to conduct a blind search for realtors near me. You are going to call the agency that has been sitting in your inbox, helping you maintain your HVAC system and optimize your home's equity for the past half-decade.
It creates a closed-loop ecosystem. The Valentine's poem humanizes the brand. The Spring Branch lease announcement proves their operational versatility.
And the Fulshear maintenance checklist proves their ongoing commitment to the community long after the commission check is cleared.
Every single piece of this content machine is designed to build the necessary familiarity to eventually get you to click that schedule a coffee date button.
So what does this all mean? When we synthesize all of these sources, the strategic local branding of Stacey Burgeon, the aggressive barbell strategy of their property listings, the friction-reducing digital tools, and the highly specific, retention-focused content machine.
It delivers a very clear blueprint for you.
It really does. A successful, sustainable real estate presence today requires a radically complex operating model. It's not just about placing a sign in a yard and waiting for the phone to ring.
It requires an agency to operate like a tech company on the back end, utilizing SEO, automated valuation models, and targeted digital funnels, while simultaneously operating like a traditional 1950s neighborhood ambassador on the front end.
That's a great way to put it.
Terra Point Realty succeeds because they understand that while the logistics of finding a home have been entirely digitized, the psychological hurdle of buying a home remains intensely human.
They have engineered a system that uses digital efficiency to scale human empathy. That is the true operational takeaway from this case study. And as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a final thought to mull over as you observe the markets around you.
Something to think about.
We spent a lot of time today analyzing how Terra Point bridges the divide between algorithmic searches and human connection. But as our world leans ever more heavily into AI-driven smart searches, entirely virtual reality home tours, and automated instant offer property algorithms, will the hyperlocal, community-rooted coffee date model of boutique firms like Terra Point eventually become the ultimate premium luxury?
That is a fascinating thought.
Right. When everything else in the transaction process is completely automated and commoditized, is genuine human connection going to be the most expensive, highly sought-after selling point in the future of real estate?
It is a compelling paradox to consider. As the industry races toward complete technological efficiency, the agencies that survive might simply be the ones most capable of proving they are still run by actual people.
It truly is something to watch unfold. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you pulled some highly actionable insights into the underlying mechanics of local real estate economics and the hidden psychology of community branding. Keep learning, stay curious, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.